The hosts of Two Bored Apes are not registered investment advisors. The podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Nothing said on it should be construed as investment advice.
Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.
Welcome to episode 49 of Two Bored Apes. I'm your host, Jamie. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Roy. Roy, I just hit something on my desk, so I'm sure that sounds great for the listeners. How are you?
I'm well, Jamie. I'm well. You were hitting a lot of stuff. Like before we started recording, you were like tapping and doing all sorts of stuff. And
You'd think once we started recording, I would stop, but I had to get in at least one more.
One more.
I should move stuff like further from my reach so I don't do it as much.
Yeah.
This out of here.
Or get something like to fidget on. Like, I'm always holding a pen because I like.
I sliced my finger open when I had to fidget on like 7 episodes ago. So how good of an idea is that? On air, sliced my finger open.
What were you using? Like a pocket knife or something?
It's a pocket knife, yeah.
Yeah, don't fidget with a pocket knife. Get a fidget
That's
spinner.
a pretty good counter.
Life tips: don't fidget with a pocket knife. All right, should we?
Unless you don't mind slicing your finger.
That's true. I'm sure there's some people out there who don't.
Yeah, people are into some weird stuff.
People are crazy.
This is a Q&A episode, is it not, Roy?
It is. It's been a while.
Q&A that stands for question and answer. I think you probably know that. You tweet us and hey, we're going to answer questions. People give you questions. We select a few. And let's just jump into it, huh?
Let's do it.
I'll read the first one. First one comes from Artmiss, something like that. Artmiss says, what are some fun surprises projects you have done when projects had a mysterious element that ended well?
It's a good question. It's sort of in the narrative lately in the space, people talking about, should projects be surprising and having things hidden and then announcing them, or should they be like upfront and transparent? I think Mutants was nice. I don't know if it's like a full-on surprise. Like we knew Mutants were coming, but we didn't know what they were going to be. But I remember being very excited by that.
We knew they were insane, right? That was the thing.
We knew they were insane.
And it was also not a thing like with the dogs or something, for instance. We got, I can't even remember exactly how it was, but we had unrevealed dogs for quite a long time. Whereas the Mutants, it was just like, fuck it, Mutants on Friday or Saturday. And then we got the serums and we're able to use them the same day. And it was and the reveal was insane.
Yeah.
And of course there was the surprise Dutch auction for an extra 10,000 off of.
Yeah. That was a very exciting day in the market, a very exciting night period. It was insane.
It was insane. They were right.
It was insane. That was a mysterious element. I think it ended well. Long term, it ended well. A lot of people look back on it and say Yuga sort of extracted close to 30,000 ETH from the market when the market was not that healthy at the time. Like it was like one of the catalysts that people put on like that crash that we saw in like August, September. Right. I don't know how much stock I place into that, but I think it had a non-negligible impact. I think it did well for them though, obviously for Yuga, for Mutants, for the ecosystem.
Holders and for you. And ultimately, in the long run, good for the NFT market overall. But at the time, it was definitely a place where a ton of ETH went. I mean, not we all remember, but a lot of us remember on the night that it dropped, the floor on so many
everything
was falling. People were undercutting fast because they were trying to get money to buy into the Dutch auction to get more of them.
Yeah. We were in Barcelona and we just come back from dinner and I think I was awake till like 4 a.m. watching this whole thing unfold. And I've never seen anything since, and I hadn't experienced it up until then. Just like
you've never seen anything since.
I had never seen anything like that since, where the floors, like just people were accepting bids for everything. And it was just like this massive liquidity suck. And you could just see it happening.
At the time, there was seven NFT projects.
Yes.
Monitoring the floors of all 7 NFT projects in all of existence.
Yeah.
Dropping.
Any other surprises though? Any other projects?
I'm sure
you.
There's definitely lots of like individual artists where they'll just kind of release a new collection directly to holders of a previous collection, that kind of thing. or whitelisting people. That's been happening on FX Hash. Is that new drops will whitelist for previous owners? A Bugs Forest, for instance, from ZenAcademy.
That was nice.
A recent drop from him. And I don't know exactly how certain holders of his previous works were listed onto it. And that's always nice, especially when an artist is somebody who is as successful as ZenAcademy. And, you know, this is something we talked about with like the Yuga assets as well, where people have the ape, for instance, and they don't want to sell, but it's taking up a lot of their net worth or whatever. They want to secure some wins. And then when you get sort of these airdrops later on that are also valuable, it gives people a way to take some money off the table, so to speak, without having to sell the initial asset. And so that's a thing that people could theoretically do with ZenAcademy. Yeah,
absolutely. That just reminded me of oddities. That was a big surprise. No one saw it coming. It was never planned. It was this random airdrop that Proof gave to anyone who had a nested Moonbird. And it was effectively trading like 3 to 4 ETH in value. And it was by Gremplin, like a very popular artist in the space. And so that was a surprise. I think it was exciting. Since the reveal, there's been a lot of like fun and I think people's unrealistic expectations are being realized. But at the time, I think that was really fun and a great surprise.
Yeah, but it's very much the same kind of thing, right? Where you have
exactly.
Profile picture project, and now we have sort of the sidekick. I'm trying to think of some sort of other types of surprises that projects have done, aside from the whitelisting or the airdrops.
Maybe like in real life events. Like I'm sure for those who were at Ape Fest on the last night, having Eminem and Snoop Dogg come out, that was probably a great surprise.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of the other stuff at NFT NYC was like surprise, and like Proof and Moonbirds had David Blaine. They had Tyler Hobbs live coding. I think it was like announced in advance, but maybe that was all surprise stuff. I think you can do cool things when you go in person for sure.
Yeah. What about the Grailers from the Proof Collective Pass? How did that work? I mean, I thought it was very interesting, but because I wasn't a holder, I don't know the level of surprise versus premeditation.
Yeah, I wasn't part of the ecosystem, and it wasn't really too much on my radar either.
Certainly, the artists were not known ahead of time, which was a part of the fun surprise of it.
Yeah, and so I think that they have Grails 2. They're announcing it tomorrow, actually, on the 1st of August, and I think it's the same concept. So what they do is they go and talk with a whole bunch of artists and get them to submit a single piece of artwork. I think it's 20 or 25 artists, and then they reveal the art, but not the artist behind it over the course of, I don't know if it's like they do all 20 or 25 at once or over the course of a week or two. And then the community gets to speculate on, which artist created which piece. And then there's
You also get to, I think you pick which piece you want before the artist is revealed.
Correct, yes.
Correct.
So the way Grails 2 will work is everyone eligible will receive a mint pass. So I think it's Proof Collective holders and anyone who has a Moonbird with a Grail trait. And you'll get a mint pass that you can then burn exchange for one piece of art without knowing the artist behind it. Like there'll be, again, a lot of speculation. I can't remember. I wasn't around when the first one happened, but I think certain artists, it was like very obvious because they were just in their similar style and did their own thing. But then other artists got more creative and fun with it. And like, for instance, in Grails 1, Dmitry Cherniak, generative artist, famous for ringers and other things, he submitted a photograph. And so no one sort of saw that coming or expected that. And Tyler Hobbs with the Wall project that looked like a photograph. It was actually generative art. So, that's a fun surprise mystery element that they're doing for sure. Yeah.
Again, another thing is that it's all very early, and we've seen time and time again, I think that you guys really sort of set a playbook that a lot of people have copied to varying levels of extent. So a lot of the surprises that projects have done are basically just kind of redos of what they have done before. So it'll be interesting to see as time goes on, people kind of bucking that trend and coming up with new types of surprises. A small thing that some projects have done. I can't think off the top of my head of which have done it, but do merch drops that are just free because, you know, a lot of people talk about how, and I sort of agree. It's a little weird to spend thousands of dollars on these NFTs or have an NFT that's appreciated up to thousands of dollars and then still have to give the company another $50, $70 for a hoodie or whatever when we know that how much they're making in royalties every day or something.
Yeah. On that one though, it really does depend on the project because like even just taking Bored Apes for an example, or maybe they're not the best example, but like people
that's like the only one that it's definitely not a good example, I think. If you're going where I think you're going.
Well, like I can't remember where the floor price was at the first merch drop, but like people minted it for 0.08 and it was, I don't know, like $150 at the time, $200 maybe. And so to expect free merch for 10,000 NFT, like 5,000 holders at that point, I think it's just impractical because of the money that they would be dedicating 40% of the mint just to give out a hoodie or something.
Yeah, I agree with that. But then once you get further down the road and the project has these huge war chests, like for instance, Pixel Vault or Yuga would be good examples of, or maybe actually, I think Azuki is one where they did those.
I think the jackets were free. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of a nice surprise for people.
Yeah. And Moonbirds has been giving out free merch. Obviously they raised a ton of money and can afford it. And it's a nice touch. Yeah. All right. Should we move on? Let's
move on to the next question.
All right. Dr. Bitstein says, what does it say about the current market when even free mints don't mint out anymore? ... What's next?
I think there's been lots of free mints in the past probably that haven't.
Yeah.
And there's currently non-free mints that are minting out. So I feel like the premise is a little false.
Yeah. I think maybe like 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago when free mints were like, the meta was just starting for free mints. They were all sort of like, any free mint people would just mint out because there was...
And it was in the wake of the goblins.
Exactly. Right? People were like, oh, maybe this is the next goblins. Maybe this is the next whatever. And then since then, just the sheer volume of free mints coming out and the general level of quality of them being very low, I think the market has now realized, oh, it's not even worth paying $3 in gas to mint 10 of these things because they're going to be worthless and then you have to pay to list it on OpenSea. And I think that is part of it. To your point, there are paid mints that are minting out. And I think that's a better indication that maybe the market is continuing to mature and like have this flock to quality and look for like substance in projects and not just YOLO mint absolutely anything and everything.
Yeah. I also think that, you know, if you have sort of, this, meta in the market where free mints are a thing, you maybe start off with various projects deciding to go towards free because of, you know, that's just popular at the time and that's sort of what the market wants. But then, you know, the later comers are just more opportunistic. They're going, well, let's just make a project because we know people are doing these free ones and they'll have a nice royalty and we don't really necessarily need to care.
Yeah.
So, you know, we get lots of questions about what is the correct structure for projects and royalties and mint prices. And I always like to say that, you know, it just has to be, to me, a deliberate choice where thought went into it rather than just trying to catch on to the trend, rather than just trying to maximize the amount of money you can extract from this. And so I think, you know, a lot of these free ones that are not minting out are probably low effort things where people, you know, free is the correct price for you being offered, you know, and for the amount of effort that went into it. You know, it's probably also not true for all of them. But, you know, marketing is not easy and there's only so much attention and only so many, you know, people in the space. So not every project that's worthy is going to mint out. And that has been true for a long time. There's nothing new about that.
Yeah. In terms of what's next, I think, well, so there was a project, I think it was called For the Culture, where they said, we will pay people to mint, like 0.01 or something like that. And, you know, it was a fun gimmick. The project obviously flopped, because there was no real substance behind it. But I think,
We've also seen a couple projects dabble in like the money back guarantee.
yeah, the refunds.
system.
I like that.
And if some projects could do that in a sophisticated way, that could be an interesting sort of next level where we're still keeping a mid price, but we have this sort of backstop.
Yeah. Innovation. I think people are trying and experimenting with new things, which is always good to see. All right.
I'm going to go to the next question here. Sir Krahe says, you recently mentioned that you're selling NFTs. This is aimed at you. You recently mentioned that you're selling NFTs to be able to focus on the projects in which you really believe. For that, do you consider art blocks to be one project, or do you consider each drop a different project? This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, is to just kind of clean up the projects that I don't believe in so much anymore, or that people haven't been, actively participating in anymore. But I'm just always too lazy to, basically.
Yeah.
But you've been actually doing it, and now you got this question about it.
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing it. I added this because it's art block specific. I thought that you would have similar thoughts and feelings, and we could chat about the art blocks part of it. But in terms of my decision or like approach to sell NFTs and sort of like consolidate it into a much smaller pool of projects that I have high conviction in, it's something that I've wanted to do. Like, it's been on the back of my mind, I think, for a year. I think if you go back and listen to maybe literally episode 1 of this podcast, I talk about,
I think it was 2.
I'm sick of NFTs, Jamie.
And you're like, I'm overwhelmed.
I have too many projects. And then I
was like, what a great start to our NFT podcast.
It has obviously just like, because I never fully addressed it, it's just gotten worse as time's gone on. There's been more projects I've accumulated. And then there's airdrops you get. And then I sort of over the last few days have taken stock and tried to list every single project that I have NFTs in, that, trying to exclude like the total rugs and garbage. And I got to 330 projects, and there's probably like 20 or 30 that are, I missed.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so, I mean, the goal is ultimately to get that down to, I think 20 is a realistic number of projects. 10 is a nice pipe dream, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how cutthroat I want to be when I get down to the nitty gritty. And the reason being just to sort of free up like mental bandwidth and not feeling like I have to stay on top of all these projects or checking these.
So close.
But then also I think just from like a general asset management perspective, it's just smarter to have the majority of your allocation in just a few projects that you believe the most in. And like, often the reason people say spread it out to more projects is for diversification, but I think you can be plenty diversified with 10 projects or 15 projects.
Have you heard the term diversification? That's what a lot of people say.
I think you actually
when you're
mentioned it on the podcast.
You have your 10 best ideas, for instance, right? Why put money into your 11th best idea when you could just put a little bit more into the, I mean, at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's something I'm in the process of. It's literally going to take me, I think, like a couple of weeks to list and then probably a few months to sell, because I'm not just listing everything at floor. I'm happy to like wait until, if a project I think has legs.
Until the floor drops another 50.
Well, yeah, maybe I miss out on some.
In a lot of them that will happen, certainly.
Anyway, in terms of art blocks, I do not consider art blocks to be just one project. I think each drop is a different project. It's a different collection by a different artist, and it's got different. I think you should approach them all differently from a collector's perspective, or if you're looking at it from an investment perspective. Like, obviously, most projects, well, no project is going to perform as well as Fidenza by Tyler Hobbs so far, basically. So comparing like all art blocks to the same, I think is just a flawed approach. That said, for the purposes of what I'm doing right now, I am kind of treating art blocks as one project, just because within art blocks, I have, I think, 700 NFTs from like 200 projects. So it's like I'm kicking the can down the road, and maybe in 2 or 3 months, I will then do the same process, but through art blocks, and maybe go through and maybe exit certain projects that Marie Kondo, right? If a piece of art doesn't bring me joy anymore, maybe I sell it and try to put that into a collection that I really do like. But what are your thoughts?
I would say I disagree a little bit in that there is an element of branding to it, to where, you know, all of them are art blocks pieces, and all the, for instance, curated ones are art blocks curated pieces. So like, just to step back a little bit, I would say in like FX Hash, because there's no curation happening whatsoever, it's very reasonable to me to just totally think of every print as being essentially completely separate. Whereas in art blocks, because there's some curation happening and because they have this tier structure with curated, there's some level of sameness to the project that I would put them under. But yeah, I mean, it's 27-bit digital and Fidenza are not the same thing. They're not going to have the same floor price trajectories. They're not going to have the same ceiling price trajectories. I don't know what either of them will be, you know, floor ceiling trajectories for either project, but they're not going to be the same. So it would be unreasonable to think of it all as the same. It's a little bit like, you know, Yuga assets or whatever. It's not exactly the same, but you can't expect that other deeds and mutants and apes and dogs are all just going to be in lockstep.
And Meebits.
You know, people are going to get too excited and too optimistic and too scared and all of this in varying stages over time, and you know, overvalue and undervalue stuff accordingly.
Yeah. Are you do you have plans to sort of clean up your projects that you're in?
I do have plans. I have lots of plans though, right? You know, you have plans to read Infinite Jest. I have plans to read The Count of Monte Cristo, but the best laid plans of mice and men soon go awry.
Sounds right.
Is that how the quote ends? Soon go awry. I think so. All right. I think that's pretty thorough.
All right. Next question is from Natasha N. Is Discord a requirement for launching an NFT collection? Which platforms will help build a genuine community? I think if you'd asked this question 6 months ago, I probably would have been a lot more convinced that Discord was kind of necessary for an NFT project and collection. But since then, I think a couple of things have happened. One is we've seen projects launch without a Discord that have been very successful. Goblin Town being a big example.
Okay. Yeah. They still don't have.
They don't. I think maybe unofficially some of the community members picked one up, but
that's
Pre-Mint is another one. The Collector's Pass, they don't have a Discord. And MFers was another one that launched without Discord and unofficially the community created one, I think. So, and I think that there are a couple of other examples. CPG doesn't have one, but they have Telegram. Anyway,
what's CPG?
Crypto Packaged Goods. It's like a membership club community. Yeah. Okay. I hadn't heard of them until a few months ago, but now I'm very familiar with it. Anyway, that plus the fact that so many people are getting Discord fatigue, and it's really draining on now. Like, again, a year ago, 8 months ago, we were all like, sure, we're in too many Discords. This is crazy. Now I think it's just like, all right, enough is enough. I'm not checking 95% of the servers I'm in. It's almost like a breath of fresh air if a project doesn't ask you to join their Discord and keep up to date there. If you can follow them on Twitter and they announce that way, or even just like get an email.
Yeah, Twitter's got to be where everything else is happening, basically. If it's not Discord, it's Twitter. But like these are all digital, right? I mean, NFTs are digital fundamentally. And if you're trying to, let me read a little bit of this question. Launching an NFT collection, which platforms will help build a genuine community? So you need some sort of digital space for the community to interact and form a community rather than just a collection of individuals. So if you're not going to do Discord, you probably have to try a little bit harder on Twitter or something like that, because otherwise you're not going to have a community. If, again, this is digital, so it's not just going to be we're all hang out at the park.
Yeah.
Something like that. And certainly Discord and Twitter have been the two places. But as you're saying, some projects are successfully building communities outside of Discord. And it does seem like, for the most part, most people are spending more time just hanging out, so to speak, on Twitter. And then Discord is maybe a couple times a day you kind of run through and catch up on announcements or something.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times, by the way, is just clicking the red thing and then scrolling and going to the next thing, right? And not even getting the announcement for a lot.
Right click, mark as read, and then it's just done.
Oh, yeah, that's a more sophisticated.
Yeah.
But yeah, same.
Sort of as an extension of this, I think that we are seeing more people and communities form on like quote unquote traditional Web 2 social media platforms like Facebook groups and WhatsApp. And I think that like for a lot of newcomers, Discord and Twitter are like foreign and intimidating. And if they're already,
Discord is intimidating.
It is. I made a YouTube video on Discord security last week, and I was just sharing my screen, and I opened it up and was like trying to show a couple of things. And just the sheer amount of information that there was like all the usernames on the right, and then the channel list, and then the servers, and then this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I think that what is necessary and what we will see and are already seeing is all these communities and groups forming on platforms that people are already comfortable with, and then maybe they will later on migrate to Discord, or maybe they just entirely stay on Facebook or wherever it might be. And I think that's.
It also seems like at some point, some projects will try to just make their own platform, right? Because there's all sorts of tools out there for just piecing together open source chunks of code and stuff. Never mind just making your own proprietary stuff. But there's got to be a way to just get your community to be together on something that you control totally, almost in the way that Apple control. I mean, they're obviously a huge thing and very different, but they control the hardware and the software top to bottom. The whole experience for somebody using their stuff is, curated and designed by them. And there's definitely a way for somebody to do that in the NFT space. You could have the marketplace. You could have, whatever version of chatting and all the announcements and stuff all just comes through, their proprietary app or whatever. It seems like it would maybe theoretically take a lot of money or devs, but it's only a matter of time, I think, before something like that is attempted. And only a matter of time after that until it's succeeded.
There aren't many projects that I think could do it, but Yuga is one. I think Proof is another. I think Proof has their high-rise thing coming out, which a lot of people are speculating it. Yeah, it's like Discord competitor, Discord killer. I'm not convinced it's that, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Vertical metaverse is how they described it, which,
right.
Yeah, who knows what that's going to be. All right. Anything else on communities, or should we move on?
I think that's pretty good. Luckbox for Life says, do you regret making ZenAcademy an ERC 1155 token? Any chance it can be swapped to an ERC 721 in the future? Love ZenAcademy, but hate 1155 tokens. They feel less special. They are all the same. This is an interesting question to make.
Do I regret it? I would say slightly. I think that actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to say no, I don't regret it because I had good reasons for doing it at the time. At the time, exactly, gas was a huge one.
At the time,
we launched in November last year, and like the gas optimized contracts weren't nearly as prevalent as they are now. And the gas difference between an ERC 1155 versus 721, especially if you're minting multiples, like this was pre-Azuki and ERC 721A. It was enormous. So like to mint to mint any number of ZenAcademy NFTs, it cost between $5 and $10. Whereas minting another project, it would cost about $30 to $50 per NFT. So I think, especially because our mint price was so low, 0.033, I think it was the best option at the time without sort of using tactics and concepts that have since been developed and become regular. In a perfect world,
prices in general were just
Gwei was 2 yesterday.
I mean,
it was 2.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I sent some ETH from one of my wallets to another one, and it cost like 18 cents, and it's amazing.
That's amazing.
What was I going to say? In a perfect world, I would like them to be 721, and I think that there are cool and different and beneficial things you can do with a 721. Also, I think that the way OpenSea like displays 1155s is not ideal. Anyway, we are planning to do things in the ZenAcademy ecosystem over the next few months, several months. I don't want to put too much of a timeline on it, but the future NFTs that will be released, I'm almost certain and very confident that they'll be ERC 721s for various reasons. So stay tuned, basically.
Yeah, I mean that's part of what's great about all this, right? If you want your holders to have 721s, you know who all the holders are. You can airdrop them, or you can whitelist them. It's all very doable, even if you don't necessarily money like the old contract in any sort of way to a 721. You can get those exact same people to all have a 721 that, in some ways, representative.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is weird to me. Is this person what do they do to them? I don't know. But like you were saying about the OpenSea thing, it is a little bit confusing, annoying the way that you can't exactly tell how many you're listing or how many you're buying sometimes, and the price. It's just not as clear as when you're buying 721s.
Taco Cat 5555. Thoughts about Tiffany's 30 ETH pendant, their NFT. Did you see this? This news came out just a few hours ago.
I did see it. I've seen also something Arnault. I don't know what his first name is, but I guess he's the son of the richest French guy or whatever. Has been sort of, I guess, not directly hinting at these, but definitely showing these pendants. My hand was not on showing these pendants. It's not my Twitter. On Twitter for a long time. So we knew that this, rich connected guy who is in the luxury brands business was renting a punk avatar and was making punk pendants, and it was, easy, maybe guess or infer that something was coming down the pipeline, but then all of a sudden it just came. It's what I find sort of interesting is the 250 number. When obviously there's 10,000 punks, that's, you're upping the
scarcity.
Scarcity. No, but the word before it, where it's like forced or fictional or whatever, artificial. The artificial scarcity thing, because if you want these for punks, why not have 10,000 of them? Just honestly, aside from theoretically issues of them not being able to manufacture more than 250 pieces of jewelry, which sounds kind of ridiculous. It's just to make them more special and scarce, which is kind of interesting. And we'll see, how many floor punks actually go versus, higher and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think it's, so there's 10,000 punks, but there's, I think only 2,000 or 3,000 punk holders. And of that
holders,
certainly I would say the majority probably don't want to spend 30 ETH on a pendant. So it's like half, 30% of the floor price of a punk, or 40% of the floor price. So, but it's very on brand, I think, for Tiffany's. They deal in luxury goods and scarce goods and, charging crazy amounts for stuff, basically. And I think that I think it's a cool way for them to sort of enter the space in a way that's kind of like Web3 native. It's they're doing something with punks. They are manufacturing a physical thing. So there's quote unquote utility or tangible. You can actually hold in your hand a Tiffany's pendant.
Yeah. There's a cost of goods.
With I think they said diamonds and other stones and stuff. So obviously there's going to be a massive markup, but there is with everything Tiffany. And I think it's cool. I'm probably not getting one myself, but I've seen a bunch of people say that they're excited and we'll get one. And
you don't really run expensive.
I do not. Trying to think the most expensive thing I have is. Right, yeah. Non-NFT related. My most expensive 800 things are all NFTs. and then you...
Yeah. 801 is my...
Something like that.
Refrigerator.
Yeah, I think it's cool though.
Yeah, Yeah, they look kind of interesting if you're into that sort of thing. There are some small things that you could say just in terms of, like, you could probably go to a custom jeweler and have the exact same thing made for you a lot cheaper, if you wanted to with your punk. So there's sort of that. But again, when you're talking about luxury goods in general, there's people are partially paying for the name or whatever. So, if you just want the cool thing to flex that you have the cool thing and the cool NFT thing that is behind it or whatever, you can make your own. But if you are a little bit lazier and are happy paying the markup and all of that, and trusting in Tiffany's to design it, you get that.
Side note, but Deepak, the alien punk who has, I think, 1 or 2 Mega Mutants, he was involved with this somehow. So he's been tweeting about it, showing photos and that kind of stuff.
Saw that.
I don't know if you saw, but he did something really cool yesterday. Yeah. So someone on Twitter in the space is, their dad is in hospital and like they're struggling with medical bills to get them home. And we're just sort of trying to, get some like donations. Yeah. Crowdfund some money, and they got a bit, and then Deepak saw it and just basically said, "I sent you $60,000."
Yeah, I think the tweet that I saw was them saying like, "Wow, thanks everybody, raised $15,000 or whatever." And then in response to that, Deepak basically
it was amazing. I went back and looked at some of the earlier tweets, and like originally it was like he was thanking people, the person trying to raise the money for like someone donated, I think like $50, and he was like very grateful. And then just watching that escalate to 13,000 and then the 60,000, it was like, that's awesome. Reminds me of a bit of like, obviously it's different, but like when Kobe used to raid people on Twitch and then just the community would just send thousands of figures to like artists and stuff. Yeah.
That was amazing.
Good times.
All right, you got one more question. Comes from Agor NFT. Agor says, "Do you know Blind Gallery by Kaloh, Kaloh?"
I do, vaguely. So, Kaloh has a newsletter. They're really big onto generative art, FX hash in particular. So they write a lot about that. And I believe Jamie is playing with his pen. And making funny faces. And I believe that Blind Gallery is a project that they sort of put together, I think similar to Grails. It's the same concept or something very similar to it, where the art would be revealed, people would buy mint passes and then select the art, and then the artists behind that would be revealed later on. That's the extent of my knowledge. I think it happened a few months ago. I remember seeing it on Twitter and around, and it was like in my periphery, and I was like, oh, that seems really cool. I like FX hash. I like, fun, interesting mechanics. But I just never got around to like looking more into it. But yeah,
I had not heard of Blind Gallery or Kaloh. The order of those letters for Kaloh, that
I feel like you'll recognize them if you see the work or the
yeah. It looks like a familiar name certainly, but I can't, off the top of my head, I don't know who or what it is.
Well, that's the extent of our knowledge on Blind Gallery. So kind of. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
That's the end of the questions.
Do we want to play a game?
Yes, short and sweet. I'll play a game with you.
What am I thinking?
I'll play What Am I Thinking with you, yeah.
Every time we start, I look around my room and I see the exact same object. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to pick my asthma puff.
I know.
Yeah.
Salt lamp. Every fucking time. Salt lamp.
Okay, I've got one too.
3,
Trepidation.
2, 1. Bear and trepidation. While we were in Vermont, a bear attacked the trash cans that we had.
Were you close? Were you witnessing it?
Which is why I said that. No, I mean, I guess in theory it could have not been, but they're all like bungeed up and stuff like that to prevent that kind of thing, to prevent bears from getting into it. And the amount of mayhem that happened to it, it seemed as though it was a bear that had swiped at it.
All right. And bear and trepidation. Okay. Yeah,
Almost
they
put
do.
together already as a human, right?
I thought trepidation would be like a bit of a curveball and yeah.
Kind of is.
Okay, I go on.
Too slow right now, but I can't come up with a good word.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay.
Okay. 3,
Scared.
2, 1. Danger. Danger and scared. Okay, I got a word.
Sure.
3,
Afraid.
2, 1. Fear.
We're doing that thing again.
Fear and afraid. Oh my God. Right there. Fear and
Okay, I got it.
afraid. Fear and afraid.
I have
You have a
a
word?
few actually, which is not ideal, but I got one that came to mind.
Fear
Mhm.
and afraid. I feel like
They are very
if they're
close.
this close. How can there be a word between them? Okay. I feel like I'm going to say a word that we might have said a round or two
Okay.
ago, but I can't remember them. But 3,
Anxiety.
2, 1. Scared.
With the word
Scared.
I just
And
said.
do we already do scared? Yeah, it seems like. But what else am I going to do? Anxiety. That's
Okay, I got one.
scared and anxiety. Okay, scared and anxiety. 3,
Emotions.
2, 1. Depression. Depression and emotion.
Okay.
Depression and emotions. Okay, I got one. 3,
Mental health.
2, 1. Psychologist. Psychologist and mental health. Okay, I got one.
Therapy.
3, 2, 1. Therapy. Yeah.
You were way too excited for that. That took way too long, and you disqualified yourself on round 4.
I didn't disqualify anything. I even gave the warning that I was about to cheat.
I thought you were going to say like,
This
was episode 49.
Now, right. I didn't mention this the whole episode. Maybe I should have earlier. Your background.
Oh, it is a green screen. Yep.
Screen.
I don't know if that's going to show up on the video afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just seeing green.
Cool.
Okay. Should we say?
Thank you for listening.
Then some
All those things.
subscribe,
Don't
friends, donate
plug. We got episode 50 coming up next. Should we do something special for episode 50?
letter.
Let's do a giveaway. We'll give
Yeah.
something away. So make sure you listen next episode.
We'll give something away. Roy's going to give
I'll give away one of my NFTs. Maybe my 801st
Okay.
most valuable NFT.
Okay. Well, we should
Find out what
get them in order
Yeah.
and figure out exactly what that is. All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Two bored apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two bored apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.